This is the alien being that I call Mum. Now, it clearly isn't my mother because I'm human, but in my mind, it got me to be convinced that it was my mother. If you can imagine, this alien being has adopted me, and so I refer to it as Mum.
So how often do you see your mum?
Oh, I would say probably once a month, twice a month, depending. And what will happen is that we will hold hands, and I'll say I'm ready, and then the technology that I do not understand, then you are just taken and you go up, straight up to a craft orbiting the Earth. This one researchers call a Mantid, or in America it's referred to as a Mantis. It's a green creature, it's about 7 foot tall, and this one wore a robe or a cloak, purple coloured. There we go, that's one of my drawings there. And the creature literally reached into the cot that I was in. I remember it distinctly, had wooden bars, green, yellow, red, blue, with like an abacus, painted abacus on the top. And this creature just reached and lifted me up, and then I was actually tilted over to look straight into its face.
So these are experiences, and you don't use the word abduction, but you use the word contact, because
Yes.
you are a willing subject,
Yes.
a willing participant.
Just going to allow Simon to begin where he feels we have some really important information to come through.
Okay, right. I think I'd like to quickly jump forward to 1971. It's one of the most complex experiences that I'd had.
Can I just ask you, just for a sort of a reference point
About
through your age?
11
About
and
11.
3/4.
Okay.
And it's when I made an agreement with them. I actually remember making an agreement with them. I'd been taken on board the craft, and the being, it's a Mantid being, again, with a purple cloak, the same one that has called me, I'm your mother, about 9 foot tall. I'm hysterical. I'm screaming and crying because I'm on this spaceship where it appears to be a school taking place, where children are being taught. They're all girls. I'm the only boy there. And I'm being told to wait because someone's going to come and collect you. You're not coming to school. You're going to be collected. And then this being sort of marches towards me. I don't run away because in the back of my head I think I know this creature. And then he walks straight up to me, looks down and puts his 2 hands on my shoulders and says, would you like to be like us, to have knowledge and understanding, to know the future and see the past, but I never let him finish the sentence because I'm so interested in the past and the future. I say yes, because I really want to know about the past and I really want to know about the future. And as soon as I say that, his hand drops down off my shoulder, takes my right hand, and he says, then come with me. Now, this is really important because it empowered me. I realised that I had made an agreement. No longer was it a case of them coming and taking me and doing stuff and dropping me back. I've actually agreed to it. Now, I'll be honest, with these things, you give them an inch and they'll take a mile. So I didn't agree to go on a spaceship, or I didn't agree for an implant, etc., etc. But they have implication is that I have. Because I've made an agreement, they'll now interpret that in a very wide angle. But what I would say to you is that most people who are experiencers do not remember the agreement. They're not permitted to remember it. And the reason for it is that this is your get out of jail free card.
In what terms?
I'm not going to say, because they might be extremely cross with me. I'll tell you this, if I bought a sofa from a shop and I sit on my sofa and I say, this is bloody uncomfortable, I don't like this, I don't want this sofa anymore, I want out, and I go to the shop and I say, I want my money back, take the sofa away, say, where's your receipt? Where's the receipt? I haven't got the receipt, I can't remember it. Then you can't. That's my receipt. And now the only reason they've let me have the receipt is because they know I won't use it. They know that I won't cash it in to be out. So I've been permitted that because they're so confident that I won't want to jump ship. So that's important, that I believe that every experiencer has an agreement. but they're not permitted to remember that agreement. And I think that's where's free
And do
will?
you think that that knowledge has changed your relationship?
Well, it's made me feel better, because until I realised that, it's a case of, well, who told you to come and get me? Who gave you permission? You don't have permission to do that. But I don't feel that. I never felt that very much when I was in their world, because I've never been badly treated. I've always been. In fact, they've been nicer to me than humankind have. And that's a horrible thing to say, but it's actually the truth. So I've never ever been unhappy in their care at all. But when you're in your own world here and you're thinking about it, you think, well, who said they could come and do that? And you think, well, who gave you the right to do that? Well, I did.
Yeah.
I gave them the right to do it.
And do you think that was a contract for just from this life, or do you think that was a soul contract from eons ago that is being reactivated? Or
I don't know. This is a what I call the body and soul, or the soul and body agreement. There's more. This is not just an ordinary soul agreement. In this case, I'm being offered not you can become us, but would you like to experience what
be
we
like us?
And I believe that what I gave the agreement to was for the right to have my soul taken out of my body, put into one of their bodies, and then to interact as one of them for a short period of time, and experience what it's like to be an extraterrestrial of this faction, of this group. And then my soul is put back into my body, and I believe that was the real crux of that agreement.
Okay. So, have you had that experience?
Several. I mean, sorry, Joan. I mean that's why I have a problem. I know lots of experiencers get very emotional about talking about it. I don't. The only time I get emotional is with people who are abducted, particularly women, and have things done to them, because although it's very difficult for people to accept, I have in their body been on an abduction. I have seen exactly what it's like. And when you're there in their body,
sort of overseeing the process.
Oh, absolutely, because the hierarchy of the Mantids, the lowest is the doctor, the second is the pilot, the third is the master, and these are the ones with the purple cloaks. There are higher ones above them, but they're like the coordinators. But whenever you're doing an abduction, you always have a doctor with you. Always have doctors with you. Okay, well, we don't call them the praying mantis, because the praying mantis is a earthbound living insect, and I don't want your audience to have this vision of this inaccurate. Often you see them drawn and they're totally inaccurate. These creatures stand exactly as we do. They do not stand like an insect. Their hips join with their legs exactly as we do.
So they're humanoid, not like an insect or an insectoid.
No, they're not. Insectoid as an American military term for any alien that's insectoid that is not mantid or mantis. The Americans specifically refer to mantis as mantis, and any other insectoid group they refer to as insectoid. So that's a military understanding. The mantis or mantid does have an insect-like head. It absolutely does. It has an insect-like head. It's long and thin. It does not have wings. It has 2 arms, 4 fingers, long legs, and they are divided into 3 groups. The lowest group are the doctors. They are literally, that's all their profession. They are medical experts. The next group are the computer operators, or the pilots of a spacecraft. And the next group are the only ones to wear clothes. They wear a purple colored robe, and they are referred to as universal masters, because each multiverse has a verse within it. And these beings have been tasked by all the other creatures to act as like a referee. So they each verse within the multiverse has a group of these wearing the purple robe called a universal master. So when there's a war, or there's one group is arguing with another, they are appealed to come in and make a judgment. So they will make an arbitrary judgment, and that judgment has to be followed. So it's a three-pronged group. They don't consider themselves royalty, and they don't consider it a religion. It's very difficult for Earth humans to grasp it. It's a position. They wear the purple robe.
So how do the Mantid beings communicate with you or people in general that they are in touch with, who are contactees?
Well, any alien being from the fourth dimension or higher has the capability to use telepathy. When you've been millions of years using telepathy, then you lose the vocal cords. There's no point in having vocal cords because you're not speaking. The difficulty with the grey race is when they communicate. I call it a scattergun approach. When a grey alien communicates, then they send out their communications all over the place. Whereas when a mantis or a mantid communicates, it is able to target the individual. And the way that the mantid communicates, and that's why they work with children, is that they communicate through the eyes. So you know that your eye is connected to your brain via your optic nerve, which goes to your spine. So they will communicate, and that means that a 3-month-old or a 5-month-old baby can be connected with a mantis, and the mantis does not burn or damage the rest of the developing brain because it goes straight to where it needs to go. When a grey communicates with a child, it swamps the whole of the child's brain with this message, and that sometimes causes problems, and that's why it's much better if you're going to see these creatures that you see a mantis than a grey.
My first memories, these are the memories that I remember. The very first one I've got, that. I must be 3 months old and 2 hands reaching down into my cot to lift me up. And all I can remember is that's not my mummy's hands. 5, should be 5. There's 4 there and there's no thumb and they're green and pointy. So it lifts me up. I've got no memory of the body at all. And it lifts me straight up, and I've put the sensation of being lifted up and strange hands around my middle. But it didn't hurt. And I look into this being's eyes, and I don't think this being makes a contact necessarily telepathically. I think it goes through the optic nerve. I think they connect direct to the optic nerve. Your eyes join straight to your brain. And it just said, I'm related to you. I won't hurt you. And then all I remember is like falling down a well. Everything went black, and I was just, if you can imagine, falling backwards over a well. And that was all I remembered. Education. I can remember probably 8 months, 9 months old, I can sit up and look above my head and I see lots of toys spinning. Soldiers, trains, building blocks. And as I look, they change into beautiful, beautiful, sharp shards, like you took a plate glass window and you smashed it, and then you coloured each piece of glass a bright colour, and then you tried to push them all together, but don't let them touch, just push them together, and then holographically turn that into a ball and float that around your head. 3 creatures. They're not exactly greys. They've got great bulges at the back of their heads, and their eyes have these strange lids. And this one on the right, I'm number 2, he telepathically says to me, look, feel, understand. And when they walk, and I've put this one here, walks like a robotic, snake-like way. Very weird way of walking. And again, I'm probably not even 1. On the left is me being taken by a creature I call Mum. On the right-hand side is a Mantid control ship. This is the lower deck of a Mantid control ship. And you can see that there are groups of mantids sitting on chairs. I don't know how these chairs, they float. There's no bars or legs holding these chairs up, they just hover. And the guys sitting on the chairs operate all the controls in this section here. The guys standing up, 1, 2, 3, they operate all the controls here. These 2 guys here operate everything in that section. And what they're doing, they're not flying the ship, they are coordinating human timelines, abductions, contacts. You have no idea the project management that is required for these guys to come down and see you at 35 milliseconds past 2 o'clock in the afternoon of a Friday. The work that is needed because then they might be in Japan 20 minutes later and then back to America. So this information goes up. I've tried to show there's no sharp corners on these craft. It's curves like that. So the information that they coordinate goes up, and this is the level above them. These guys here are receiving the information which has come from down there. These guys are piloting the ship, and they have viewing screens, and they're piloting. But I've tried to show the flowing lines here, the power supply that makes this craft fly. It's absolutely vital that the craft can convey this energy round the outside of the ship. It's that shape. And that's the commander's chair and the lifting device that takes him up and down different floors. Technologies, you like this, I hope. You put your hand over what appears to be a solid piece of metal, a shape appears, it lifts up, floats up like that, and this device here allows the commander to observe the power plant. So diamonds, triangles, squares, oblongs all move across here passing information, so you don't have to go and do a diagnostic of your power plant. That does it all, and then you just hold it out and it drops straight back into the metal. It's a morphing metal, nitinol metal that you can read about. It's just pathetic. This is real stuff. Again here, hand over the console, 2 discs come up. I don't know whether you look into this and it imprints information, or whether when you put that in the console, the information is imprinted. Transportation in tubes, you stand on a little disc and it flies you up. The little greys don't travel on those, they have little trains. Literally, like, think of a mine shaft where you see all the trains, but they run on a monorail, and the greys will sit in that, and if you like, on the underground bases, those that are left. Okay, I saw this on a ship where a specimen got free, a bird. These things are really tall and it's comical, it's like Treebeard waving its arms to catch it. They go and get a device, and somehow this device is not like a fan, it just draws, the bird's not hurt at all. It draws the bird down, and then they capture the specimen, and that gives you some idea of how they capture them on Earth. Fascinating. Underground tour of a base. I was taken and shown humans naked walking past a great bank of crystals. And this device here, which I couldn't look at, is, even when I tried to draw this, and I just couldn't. As the humans walk past, their bodies are, I don't know, scanned by this crystal. It does something to them, and then the readings are given off here. The humans then come out of a tunnel, and they're met by this guy who appears to have a medieval helmet on his head. And he's really tall and muscular. And these are first-time humans. This is the very first time they've ever been here. And they've been scanned. They've obviously passed through the test, and they're then being met. Okay, then Mum says, let me take you on a tour. And I see we're underground, rough hewn brick walls with tanks. And then these 2 are tall greys. God knows why that one's upside down. And I say, look, that one's upside down. Doesn't answer me, just says, come and see along here. So we've got greys here, and humans stored here on the right-hand side. So 3 sections, 1, 2, 3. We travel on the disc, we look at them, and I get lonely, so I seek out his hand, because that's the close relationship I have. And then I point out things that interest me.
I want to try and give you some idea of a particular spacecraft that I've been on. What you're looking at here is a group of Mantis on the right-hand side as you're looking. These are pilots. These are piloting the craft. And on the left-hand side, you're looking at another group of Mantis who are coordinating information. This is a tasked spacecraft who are interacting with chosen humans. And the group on the left are coordinating what are known as human timelines. You're born, you die. You have a timeline that joins between the 2. And so you can be interacted at any point on that timeline. But if you're interacted at the wrong point, it could cause a terrible chain reaction. It could have a very bad negative effect on that individual. So it is all planned out and mapped out. What I like about the drawing is that I've tried to show how the craft bends and turns. There's no sharp corners on these craft. It's all very smooth, very round. And that's important because of the way that the craft is propelled. The energy has to flow round the craft. So if you had a sharp corner, it would sort of shoot off. So that's what I've tried to show there. The control systems of these craft are not like control systems that we would understand from a a modern science program. I'm never really familiar with switches, although I am familiar with touch plates. Most of the controls are operated by the creature's mind. Sometimes they can do it unaided, other times they have to literally be plugged in, so they're meshed, wires are actually attached to them in some shape or form. And the whole process is one of non-physical, in the sense that there's a computer on board these craft that can interface with you. It'll talk to you if you want, and it'll talk back, and it will interpret your commands. So these craft are very, very different, and it almost looks to me as if these things were grown inside it. So, you know, it's not like someone's brought a chair in or a computer console and bolted it down onto the deck. These things almost look as if they're organic, that they were grown with it. And what these creatures have said to me is that they build these craft cell by cell or crystalline structure by crystalline structure. These craft are actually grown in a facility which I've never seen. I don't understand it, but that apparently gives them this tremendous strength, incredible strength to withstand impacts on the Earth. And that's why often when these UFOs crash, the creatures can still be alive. It's hard for us to understand that, but often they can be. This is quite interesting because at the end of that 1971 experience, and I believe I was away for 2 days, but on human time I was probably away for 7 or 8 minutes. But I honestly think it was 2 days because I had to sleep, and a bed had been made ready for me. At the end of the process, and I'm not going to discuss the process now, but there was a number of tests which I had to go through. I was successful, and literally either in my physical body or energetically taken out of my body, lifted up and held up above these creatures' heads. And the creatures then emitted what I call a chirping sound, rather like a lot of canaries in a cage. And why this is interesting is that Mary Rodwell was assisting a young family, and the child, I don't know, was about 7 years old. And he was reporting he'd had interaction with these sort of creatures, and it was freaking out the parents, really was upsetting them. And she said, look, Simon, can I put some of your YouTube videos to them? You know, can I ask you a few questions, and maybe we can support the family together? And what was key was that this boy had also reported that he had been lifted up off the ground by these creatures and heard these chirruping sounds. Now, I don't know how many thousands of miles Australia is from Britain. I've never been to Australia, and I don't know this family. Yet here we have a boy thousands of miles away recounting to his family something that happened to him that directly has happened to me. And this was very helpful to the family because it helped them to move away from the very 3D perspective of, oh, my son is mentally ill or he's having nightmares, to, oh, well, that's interesting, maybe there is some truth in that. And so to move a family away from the 3D aspect allows them then to support their child more fully.
Simon says when he was a small boy, he had a terrible accident that normally would have been fatal.
According to what the doctor had said, and the doctor's the professional, the doctor was basically saying you should have been in hospital, your spine was snapped in half. I'd fallen down, 8 foot or so of concrete channeling, done myself quite a nasty mischief. How on earth did I get out of that channel unaided? I have no memory of that at all. Somebody helped me. So, you know, I'm quite pleased that I've got a guardian angel looking over me.
So without your alien mum, you'd be dead.
Probably, yes.
Have you had any experiences where they have interacted with human collusion? So whilst the abduction's going on with humans, whether the other humans have been involved?
That would be the 19th. This is the same one.
You're referring to my labs? Military abductions?
Possibly, or any other faction of human
one that
interaction.
I'm aware of. That's the 1971. Too long to go into now, but basically I'm put into what I call an overblown dentist's chair. Very big chair, looks just like a dentist chair, and a big screen in front of me, and lots of interaction through the screen. And in the corner are 5 human scientists, and they're all white coats, There's 4 men and 1 woman working on some machines. And behind them is a corridor, and another 5 or 6 people, some in uniform. There's one lady there, like a telephonist. She's got a thing on her head and like, she can speak. It's not like, you know.
Are you aware that you're in this country, or do you have any sense of
this
that
is
nationality?
because it's out of context, because I haven't
Yes.
talked about this one. This
Okay.
is. I ask. The room is controlled by a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask the computer what its name is, and the computer says, I haven't got a name, would you like to name me? And I say, no, I'm not going to name you. Am I on a spaceship or a fixed installation? And its reply is both, which isn't helpful but is truthful. So it's actually a spaceship, but it's a self-contained pod.
Right.
Where there's time, all I know is there's time involved, and I'm being tested. I have a crew, but it's not flying in the true sense of the word. And I'm given scenarios that play out on the screen. There's a war going to start, and I have to avert that war, and I'm given bare facts, and then I have to go around my crew and get more information and make a decision.
So it sounds like these are sort of instructional, tuitional.
Joanna, I don't know what they are. All I know is that I'm being tested, and I know it's a test because before this I've met the Great One. He's the Mantid in charge of all Mantids, and he's about 12 feet tall, and he has a throne, and he has 2 reptilian bodyguards. And when he's on the screen, when he talks to me, everyone else has to leave the room. No one else. And Mum says to me, I've never even seen the Great One. I've never even seen the Great One. So everyone's ushered out of the room, and it's just me in this dentist's chair and the screen and the Great One, and the Great One talks to me and says, there's a task coming up. I accept you into the family. That's what he says. It said it was preordained that I would accept you, but the task is not fully known. If the task fails, all is lost. But he says to me, the light is strong in you, young one. Be brave. So he's the greatest, and he has an insignia. It's 12 inches long. It's like a cross, it's like a small cross, and there's a beautiful green gem, like a cabochon shape. Beautiful green gem here, and 2 purple ones here. And when he leans through the screen, it's like 3D gone mad. It's just like real, as if he's just come out of the screen. He just leans out, and it's like he's really in front with you. He's not, but it's the technology it's projected. So that was a great honour, and I recognise him as my superior in rank terms, but not in life form terms, because we're all equal.
Yes.
They're not greater than us, but in rank terms, in terms of the family, he is the highest one.
And do you have any sort of sense or understanding of where they come from, where they're situated?
I'm probably the world's worst person here, because a couple of times where they've asked me, you haven't asked my name. And I say, I don't want to know your name. I'm not interested in your name. And if they have ever mentioned a home planet, I don't remember it. I've only got about 2 or 3 names of all the things. I think the thing is that when they come, we have a job to do. We have a job to do, and some of my more recent experiences, I'll say to them, what are we going to do today? And I'll say, I've come to show you things, and because you're not quite in your right mind, and I'll say, oh goody. This is odd because I'm not a kid, but oh goody, I like it when you show me things. So it's very structured. This is what you do, and this is how you interact, and this is what should happen, and then they bring me back. So I'm not like one of these people that they'll sit and talk to me about the future of the earth, etc. This is the role that you have with us. This is what you'll do.
And do you know what that is? Are you able to say what it is or describe it?
Yeah, it's dead simple, because what they've said to me is I exist in 2 worlds.
Yes.
That's what they've said to me. You exist in 2 worlds, and your genetic material is able to survive in our world. We have been able to take your soul out of your body, put it in one of ours. Therefore, we wish to make hybrids of your genetic material, because they will last longer on the earth. Because up till very recently, hybrids they just don't last long. They've been at this for thousands of years. I really expect them to have moved on from that. I would say that what happens from the little bit I do know, it isn't that the body degenerates, their minds go.
Oh, is that right?
Hybrids' minds go, yes.
Ah, interesting.
We would call it insanity, but that's what will happen to them. and well, it's fairly unpleasant. But so that's what they're after with me, and it's odd that part of this deal is that I experience in their bodies. So, for instance, in their bodies, I will give orders to greys, little tiny, that I call the little helpers when I was small, and I hate them because their job is just to do. Little greys are there to serve, and that's awful because from a human perspective now, these things do have some humanity in them. I'm talking about the robot greys that do have some humanity, maybe very small.
Yeah.
But you see, these really don't respect them at all. They really look on them as the lowest of the low. And the problem is that the greys have been a subjugated race and are trying to fight back. And what they'll do is they'll sabotage your program. So, for instance, one occasion when I'm in a Mantid body and I'm walking down a corridor and there's 5 humans and a little grey standing by the side, and well, they shouldn't be there. It's untidy. That's how you think when it's untidy. This is, it's a nice clear corridor. They shouldn't be here. So I say to the grey, what are these humans doing here? And the reply is, sitting down. So my question is, why are these humans sitting down? And the reply is, because they have sat down. See how it's been fighting me? So I'll say, you're not answering my questions. If you don't answer them, I will end your life. So who has given these humans permission to sit here? And there's just confusion in his head because he just can't. So I'll say, return to your duties, and etc. So the problem with the greys is that they...
Yeah, but what state are the humans in? Are the humans in some kind of myopic...
trance.
Trance?
Absolute trance. Absolute trance. Just sitting there quietly. Absolute trance. And what I do is I just say to them, follow me. And then I call for 2 doctors. And then when the 2 doctors come, I say to the 2 doctors, take these humans to a place of safety. And then I turn to the humans and say, follow these 2 doctors. But the question is what the grey is doing. The grey is trying to, in a very subtle way, hold up the program. Hold it all up. So what he's doing is he was supposed to have taken those 5 humans to some venue and has just said, stay there, and just left them there. And they'll do things like that.
Okay, 1971. This is one of the most important points for me. I made an agreement with the Mantid race, a soul agreement. Most people who have experiences have made an agreement. Unfortunately, you don't remember them. And it's so disempowering when you get taken and you don't know why they take you. And it's a very difficult situation. This is a spacecraft. It's silver, no windows, no sound, traveling very slowly. I literally, if you put an industrial vacuum cleaner on your chest, that's how it felt. I was on the ground and it was like a huge sucking sensation, and I was floated or pulled upwards. I don't remember passing through the wall of the ship. I've got no memory of that. But inside was a school. Now, I've been in contact with Mary Rodwell. She was very interested because she's been talking to young children about their experiences in this school, but she calls it the school in space. I always called it the school in the air because I didn't think it was in space. I thought it was just a few feet up there. And this is the actual layout here. This is what you researchers would call a Nordic. He's the school teacher. These are human females, sort of teaching assistants. And this is the young group. They've just been taken from the Earth. They're 5 or 6 years old. They're using pens and paper because they're transitional stage pupils. Once they pass the tests, they go here and they have these discs they wear around their neck on a cord, and it's called a personal educator device, a PED. And I asked this young girl, what does it do? And she said, it teaches us. And I said, what does it teach you? And she was perplexed and said, everything. She is the pupil with responsibility. I asked her, what's your name? I am the pupil with responsibility. Yes, but what's your name? I am the pupil with responsibility. That was her name. And she would work with the kids through the groups. And she said, yeah, but you're not coming to school here. You're going up. And I'm only going to wait with you until he comes for you. When I saw this being, I was quite upset. And I felt a connection to it, but I didn't really know what it was. It came straight up to me. I know you can all read, but it's very important to me, so I'm just going to read it out. He puts his 2 hands on my shoulders. They're very tall. And he says, would you like to be like us? To have knowledge and understanding, to see the future and know the past, to have power and. And at that point, I'm so excited about knowing about the past that I just communicate, yes, because I really do want to know about the past. I'm fascinated by it. And then he immediately says, then come with me. Now, I interrupted him. It doesn't matter where I interrupted him on his communication. Whatever he didn't say is mine. That's the contract. So the finishing word there is authority. To have power and authority. That was the end of the contract. But I didn't even need to get to the end of the contract. That's what I wanted. And so I made a bargain with them, which I still stick with. This was the same day, I think. I actually probably was there for 2 days because I had to sleep, and I was given a metal bed to sleep on. And I was taken up a huge tower. This is under the earth somewhere. I don't know whether it's under the sea or under the earth. It's a huge cavernous place. And there were just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. There's supposed to be little faces, hundreds of beings. And he stands there and he holds my arm and he lifts me up, almost so I'm on tiptoe. And I say, look at all those creatures down there. And these are all hybrids. And he says to me, they're your people. They are your people. Show your people that you love them. And on saying that, he lifts my arm up, and I'm actually on tiptoe.
What else would you say that you have sort of gained from this association?
Nothing, and to be honest with you, it's all from them, isn't it? It's part of the deal that obviously has been coined. She calls it the bonding. They don't have a marriage. There's no such thing as marriage. Yeah. They don't understand the word marriage, but they have a bonding. And she says my necessity to fulfill the bonding is very strong. So in terms of what I get out of it, no, nothing really. I get friendship because she's a nice creature. But
and do they have any input into your education? Your teaching you anything?
No,
or, no,
not at all. No, it's very one-sided.
So that's a whole different element to the Mantid side of you.
Totally different. The Mantid side is where I will get to see some superb technology, where I'll go on abductions and see some things which probably fairly horrific, but I can see why I was involved. See their spacecraft, see other creatures, operate machines, have some part of the future of the Earth.
Can you describe any of those in detail?
Machines, yeah. I mean,
or the craft, or the other people.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on a craft where they've been to collect samples from the Earth, and they had what looked like a pigeon, and the bloody thing got loose and is flying around the spaceship. And there are two mantis, and they're about 8 foot tall, plus their arms are 3 foot, and they're trying to catch this poor bloody bird as it's flying around. And then one of them goes off and gets a device which is about so long with a handle. And now you know how they catch these creatures on the Earth. And he holds it up, and it's not a fan, it just draws it.
Like a magnet, like a tractor beam.
Yeah, it just draws it to it, not fast. And then as it approaches, the mantis just puts its arm gently hands around it, and then takes it away. So I've seen them collecting specimens.
Have you seen anything to do with animal mutilation or any of that?
No, they wouldn't show me something like that because they know I'd be very cross.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be happy with that at all.
Yeah.
They won't show me anything. That's probably a problem, isn't it? They won't show me anything that I'll get upset with and cross. So unfortunately, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, what are the horrific things you mentioned? Horrific things, but
I was talking about
some horrific things.
Well, yeah, when a hybrid goes mad. Basically, when hybrids are being created, they look to be all right, but after a period of a few years, they'll just break down in the mind, and they have to be actually isolated and destroyed. Because ETs, full ETs, do not consider hybrids their equal. But what the hybrid body will do is hold a soul, one of their souls or a human soul. And if it's viable, it can stay on the Earth. But they don't consider them equal to themselves. So there's a pecking order, if you like. So in effect, although they're all signed up to the same overall agenda, each group is playing its own game. And
what is the overall agenda?
The overall agenda will be to repopulate the Earth with hybrids. That's the agenda. To repopulate the Earth at a time when the Earth doesn't have very many humans on it.
Has that already begun?
It has, but it hasn't happened in a large way.
And are either of the different races, the mantids or the reptiles, involved with the governments on the ground at the coalface, face to face?
The only thing that they've told me is that they have, I don't know what you call it, like an intermediary. They have somebody who is an intermediary between them. I know what you're asking. I can't answer that because they've not told me that. But all they say is there is an intermediary. So if they wish, if there's a situation that occurs, rather than it going nuclear, for want of a better word, they have like the red phone. They have a method to get to that government very quickly through somebody who can carry the dialogue forward.
Would you know that if, just taking in mind the fact that you have a personal contract made, is there then a national contract, say, with the American people? Or with
yes, that's why yes, they've said to me that's why your government is the American government. We have the agreement with the American government. That's what they've said to me.
Oh, so they have a contract?
Oh, God, yeah. But they don't call it a contract.
Okay,
agreement.
An agreement.
We have an agreement with your government.
Is this an ancient agreement, or is
I don't
you don't know?
No, all they've said is we have an agreement with your government. That government, America, speaks for the Earth.
So do we know what the agreement is from the American side?
I don't know, no. All I know is there's an agreement which is binding, both sides, and it allows them to do what they do. But within that contract, everybody is doing its own thing.
So when you say do what they do, are we specifically talking or referencing abductions?
Oh,
and
God,
genetic
yeah.
work?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, God, yeah, it's part of the deal.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
because I've been on a ship where it's another ship, it's not the mothership, where all that Mantids are doing, we call it timelines, human timelines. I don't know what the Mantid word is, but in the English version would be human timelines. So when you abduct somebody, it's hugely complex. You have to get them at 13 seconds past, it has to be absolutely right. And I've got drawings here where I've been into a craft where there have been 8, 9, 10 Mantids all working on computers, all calculating different people's timelines, and it's project management, because you're going to abduct this one in, say, California at 2 minutes past 2, and at 3 minutes past 2 you've got to be in Japan doing this, and they project manage it all out for weeks ahead. When I've had an experience where I hadn't seen Mum for 2 weeks, and I was really cross with him, and I said, why have you left it so long to come and see me? Because we see very regularly, and he says, I can't always come when you want me to. And often when they're doing their project management, something else will come up which is more important, so it has to be slotted in. So I've actually seen them working, and on the ship is 2 layers. They then send that information up from the bottom, from the ground floor if you like, to the next coordinators, and they're the ones then that authorise which individuals to go and work and abduct that person. So it's absolutely worked out weeks ahead.
So it's all about the genetics.
It's all about genetics, all about the souls. It's all about, well,
tell us a bit about the souls.
The souls,
as far as you're aware.
as far as I'm aware, because I can only tell you what I know, what I've seen. Where they've had an association with a soul, it could be good or bad. So where it's a good association, they will work with that individual. So any individual that's getting a reasonably okay interaction, they're happy with that soul of that. They'll know that soul for many hundreds or thousands of years. Where they're not happy with that, that soul has fought against them at some point in history, in a different body, has worked against them, thwarted them. And when that soul manifests itself, they want to isolate that person and lock them out so they cannot then work against them.
How often do you have interactions with your people?
I'm writing a book at the moment.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, it's called 51 Years of Alien Abduction. I beg your pardon. It's called Alien Abduction, 51 Years of Extraterrestrial Contact. And at the moment, I'm being left alone. And they want me to write the book. Prior to that, I keep a calendar and I mark on it when it happens. So between 3 times and 5 times a month.
Okay.
between 3 and 5 times a month. And then it might be that I'll get 2 or 3 very close together, and then a gap. And you know, they have come when my wife's been in the room. You know.
And when that happens, is she disturbed at all? She's not aware?
No, well, she goes into slow motion. What happens is that there's like a bubble that comes round, and she just immediately goes into slow motion because they don't want her involved. So they freeze time. But I'm not put into slow motion because I'm the subject of the interaction.
Sure. Do these two groups that also work with, are they controlled by a higher force?
I have seen an image shown to me of a pyramid, of a pyramid, of a pyramid, of a pyramid. These are fourth dimension beings. They're only just there. They're only they're not far away from us. They're just there. But there are other dimensions higher,
Sure.
and there are good and bad, and they're being manipulated, just as some of the human race has been manipulated. I've no doubt about it. But you know, they're into this power game. Some of them, not all of them, and of course they accept that.
So what is the goal then?
The goal is
hybridization.
The goal is to survive on the Earth. When the Earth makes the changes, you see.
So is there an interest then in living on the planet?
Yes, if they can. Yes, they want to experience our dimensionality. They want to be able to physically feel.
So would you go so far as to say that it might be a takeover, or was this a...
No, because they would have done that by now.
Right.
You know,
okay.
They would have done. They could have done it in the Stone Age.
Playing devil's advocate. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they're not allowed to do that because the law won't allow them. The greater law won't allow them. They've got to do it when they're either invited to do it, or the Earth is so depopulated that it doesn't matter anymore. And it's going to happen one way or the other, and they're just waiting their time.
You mentioned this Earth being depopulated. I mean, we've got the Georgia Guidestones and imminent destruction, reduction of the population. Are you referring to that? Do you have any information about
all I can tell you is that I have been told that there is some big traumatic times coming, but I personally am not to worry. What they've said to me is you will always be given food, you will always be given water. And I actually said to them, what will I do for company? They've said to me there are traumatic times to come. But you see, it's positive as well, because my own belief from the little that I've picked up from them is that we as humans are going to be given a choice to either stay on this earth or spiritually evolve. And if enough of us want to spiritually evolve, this ain't going to happen. But if we don't, as a race, spiritually evolve and sort out our problems, then we are going to have some very difficult times.
And by spiritually evolving, if we're not going to be on the planet, does that mean we'll be in a parallel dimension?
Yes, I mean, it's not about spaceships landing necessarily and being loaded on them and carted off, although that could happen, because it might be that a benign race might think, I don't like what's going on here, and offer people, but then you don't know whether that's a genuine offer or not.
Yes.
But I think what I'm looking forward to would be the opportunity to embrace love, the opportunity to embrace a higher goodness, and to be able to say, right, I want to move on to whatever it might be the fifth dimension, I'm ready for that, I want to go.